Hi, my name is Kathy Sheffers, and I'm with Goodheart-Willcox Publisher. I'm joined by my colleague, Katrina Pilo. We are so happy to be with the author team of Amy Lee, Margaret Delahanty Kelly, Catherine Lee, and Maggie Bergeron, who just published a brand new resource for first-year experience courses.
Approaching College with Purpose is focused on the importance of students beginning their educational journey with intention, developing good habits, and creating a strong mindset, and acquiring strategies to ensure a successful transition to college. Amy, what inspired you and your team to write Approaching College with Purpose?
It's hard to pinpoint one inspiration, so I will say I'll identify a few. I have been able to do a lot of research with and then work with and teaching of first-year courses, first-year programs, first-year students, and first-year instructors. And over the course of doing that, the one thing I hadn't done was write a book for students, directly for students. All of my work has been for people who teach and study first-year experience programs. And so there was something interesting and challenging to me about trying to translate what I knew from my own experience and from working with amazing instructors like Margaret and Maggie, trying to translate that for contexts outside of those I had studied or worked in myself. And I think also the sort of moment that we've been living in historically over the last 5 years or so, even before COVID, even before the death of George Floyd, the death of Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, there's been increasingly just an urgency and a sense of the connectedness between what we're doing in any classroom and the first year experience writ large and what is happening in the world around us. And I felt a kind of a more loud call and urgency to help instructors really not only acknowledge, but really utilize and work from that connectedness with the students that we serve as they're entering the first year and thinking beyond.
So you've devoted 2 chapters to engaging diversity, which is such an important topic on today's college campuses. What are you hoping that instructors and students will glean from interacting with your content and with each other?
I think that, so I've been thinking a lot about work in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I've been thinking about it as the weather. And so it's always around us, and it feels different on different days and in different spaces, but it's not a one and done, it's not a training. And in the context of this book, I think we can think about engaging diversity as both a mindset in terms of how do we view our own personal lens, and then how do we work to understand the lenses of those around us and the different lived experiences that we bring to any given situation. And then it's also concrete skills like listening and like reflection and working with people in a way that is very purposefully engaging those skills so that we can learn from them and then ultimately be transformed by them. So I think what I would hope is that rather than seeing it as a list of terms or a list of words or kind of an identity worksheet that we do and then gets put away, that rather we see it as something that's always around us, it's always at play, it's always relevant, and something that we can all continuously engage in and continue to develop skills and growth around.
I think something I would want to say about this topic is that we are all cognizant that the book is not a sociology book, and it's not about racial justice and what is needed for racial justice or social justice, although those are commitments that we all have. And we tried when we were designing these chapters to really think about what is workable and meaningful in a first year course or a first year experience program, to go as deep and as meaningful and as substantive as we could while recognizing the limitations, the scope, the parameter, not only of the book or the course, but of our expertise. And so I think speaking from pedagogical and also the scholarship on this work is that we know from, there's in the last 20 years after the Supreme Court cases challenging affirmative action at different universities, there's now 2 decades of more, but 2 robust and plentiful decades of research on both quantitative and qualitative about how do we as human beings and also college students in the United States, wherever we come from, whatever country, whatever state, how do we learn to be together in ways that are either functional or dysfunctional, that are just or that are unjust. And there is a lot of knowledge out there about the role that instructors play. And instructors spend more time with students than anybody else on a campus except other students. And so, part of what has come out of all of this research is that if you're doing nothing as a teacher, to think about the environment, the interactions, and the skills that you're helping students cultivate around engaging diversity. If you're doing nothing, if you're not paying any attention to that at all, you are reaffirming the status quo. And the status quo, as we know, is segregation. It is residing and moving back into what is comfortable to you. Most of our students still go to schools or are in schools within which there's still racial and ethnic segregation. We are not a socially integrated society in so many ways. And so but I think one of the things we believe is that when people come to campus, there is this opportunity to learn a different way together. And we know this is so, employers say this is one of the least developed skills amongst college graduates. College faculty in survey after survey say it's something they're the least comfortable with. And so the book is trying to understand the value and the opportunity that is here in this first year, and to try to give instructors and students a chance to break down what is involved and then to practice it. And what is involved are the things that we know from the research on intercultural development and competency and multicultural education, which has to do with people becoming self-aware, people being able to modify and detach from habits of mind or habits of feeling in situations that they have. It has to do with teaching people how to be open to new or different ways of communicating or thinking or making sense of the world. It has to do with helping people learn how to find points of connection and collaboration with each other. And it has to do with learning to help people scaffold or again have a process where it's okay to be who you are and start where you are, but we all need to learn. We all need to acquire new tools and skills. And so I think when we think about that with engaging diversity, and we think about that it's about knowledge, it's about developing knowledge about difference and about human difference. It's about developing tools and skills, and it's about a commitment too. But it's not just about being together in a room or being put in groups together, because that in and of itself achieves nothing. It achieves what we already have, and what we have is not adequate. We all need to do better.
Just, I think also that the idea of engaging diversity and thinking about yourself in relationship to others and others in relationship to you is a practice. It's not something that is like, I figured it out, I'm done, good to go. It's something that takes practice, and it is a practice. So it just continues to expand and deepen and broaden. And it's something that needs to be considered consistently and purposefully. So that's, I think, an important aspect, is that it's the work that is never done.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that institutions of education have not situated or valued all bodies the same. They were designed and they developed for particular students, and they're in a state of evolution, and we need to evolve mindfully and intentionally. And I think this book is really trying to take up that. I think it's an urgent need, and I think the book is really trying to take that up and give people some tools and ways of thinking about how to take up that need to be more inclusive and equitable of different ways of knowing and different ways of being in the world, while acknowledging that everybody doesn't enter having had an experience of education as making them feel visible or valued.
So this concludes our conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, and I want to thank our authors again for their time today. If you have any additional questions or would like a sample of Approaching College with Purpose textbook and student journal, please contact your GW educational consultant. Thank you again.